I wanted to speak about Chelsea, and this would have been a good episode to have Rufai, who's a Chelsea fan, or FX as well. And the question I want to ask is, please, can someone tell me what's going on at Chelsea, and also Leicester as well? I've seen Chelsea go on with this kid Anthony Gordon, and I'm sure you've followed the story a lot. Abike, by the way, why don't you post transfer news again? You
don't graduate.
I know I will catch you. I know I will still catch you.
You don't graduate.
You have left it for Lee.
You don't mature, shall
Knees don't tire. Knees don't tire.
That thing go tire. When you see Fabrizio, you don't tweet on us.
Yeah.
You don't know near Fabrizio.
Right.
Recap.
So don't let anybody tell you anything. Get your sources and post it. Right. But what's going on at Chelsea? And how good is this kid Anthony Gordon? Because I watched him against Chelsea. I thought it was I thought Chelsea in the first game.
Yeah, against Chelsea.
I've watched lots of young players. I'm sure you have as well.
Passion.
Right? I've seen this kid, Brandon Williams, at Man United. Honestly, a lot of passion.
Yeah.
Puts himself around.
Yeah.
And the question, what I always tell people, I speak to Rafael, I tell him, what do you expect a young man to do when he's 19? If you have a 6-year-old around your house, what does he do?
Energy.
He runs around.
Everywhere, yeah.
Sugar rush, running up and down.
Rush.
How much more when you're a professional footballer?
Like toddlers,
and your job is to chase people down and run and make sure that you earn, even by hard work, your place in the team. Because fundamentally, at that age, most likely, if you're not generational talent, you're not better than the guy in the team already.
Yeah.
So you have to, again, compensate with something. I've seen the guy, he's a winger, puts himself about, but I don't see, I don't, probably it's me. I don't see anything special. I don't
I think he's a small scream, though. I don't think they're going to sign him, though.
I've been asking the same question.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to sign him.
I've watched the boy, and all I'm just saying is the same kind of way England young boys bust onto the scene. Michael Richards, all of them bust onto the scene, show that energy, and then you will not see that quality later on. It just dies off. Probably like the way Arsenal took Jack Wilshere as maybe the golden boy at the time.
No, Wilshere was good.
No, I'm not saying he's not good.
Okay.
But, golden boy at the time, and everybody's just looking at this kid is going to be the next thing. That's why everybody should put that price tag on him. Because that's what I read from these British people down there in the comment section. They keep saying he's the next kid, he's the next star. This in Chelsea should get him for that price.
Who does he play like? Because I always like to say, what is the headroom for this player, right? So when I see a guy like Haaland, for example,
I've not seen an identity with him. He just plays the same way. Put the ball on the run on that flank.
Funny enough, it reminds me of Mason Mount. I don't particularly see anything fantastic about him. I think he puts in the shift. He works hard for the team. Maybe puts in 1 or 2 assists every now and then, just like Mason Mount would do. But he's not spectacular. And I saw a better player few years at Everton before him. The guy with the blonde hair, Davis.
Yeah, Davis.
Yeah, yes. Davis was just like that. I remember the game against Liverpool 2 years ago.
I think I remember the Man City game as well.
He came on and balled. So I'm seeing that trend with him. I don't think they will sign him. I think it's a smoke screen.
I think he has the same kind of move like this Leicester City kid. What's his name? The boy that plays attacking for Leicester City.
Madison.
No, not Madison. Madison plays in the midfield. No, Brighton.
Harvey Barnes.
Harvey Barnes
is good now.
I'm saying no. He has that energy.
Yeah, Harvey Barnes
that
is good.
busting. You know how Harvey Barnes runs at defense.
Harvey Barnes is productive.
I'm just saying.
To an extent.
He's the same way he too runs at defense.
Now is that productivity I want to talk about now because I feel that is a misplaced priority because you look at this Chelsea setup. The problem with Chelsea now is the wingers they've signed in the last 4 years. Yeah, they are leaving the club, or better still,
they're on the bench.
They've not clicked at all. Okay. Now let's mention Pulisic.
Pulisic, to be fair, I like the kid a lot. Injuries haven't let him play.
Whether injuries or not,
he's a very, very good player.
What about Ziyech? Callum Hudson-Odoi?
Timo
Werner.
Callum Hudson-Odoi was never a good player.
No, you can't say that. The whole of Chelsea's attack system has shut down. Do you know what that means? Down to Kai Havertz, it has shut down. And the next statement you have to make is go for and Anthony
What
Gordon.
I don't understand about Chelsea
Someone
is that
who-
they don't have a top 9, right? And they don't have somebody that creates. The manager is not going after a creative midfielder and a top 9. He's going after players who just run in and around the attacking players. I don't get it.
So I was saying this thing when Tuchel was doing this thing with Lukaku last season, that he stifled Lukaku. People say, must they play to a system to suit you? That why don't you also blend into the system? But everybody's saying that system now is still not working without Lukaku not being there.
Yeah, when Costa blew,
It's not working because the same Kai Havertz that they were depending on can't deliver.
My advice is not good enough.
when
He can't deliver.
when Costa did well at Chelsea, he had a f***ing, I'm sorry to say that, sex Fabregas, bro.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now you look at the Chelsea
This
setup.
Sex Fabregas or
Sex.
Sex?
Is it?
Sex.
I don't know.
You are the one that said we should not bother about the way.
No, I'm just saying. Because that came out, that hits me like sex.
It's actually Cesc.
Sesk.
It's Cesc.
Yeah, f***ing sex Fabregas.
Why did you say you made a mistake the first?
Now-
Sex Fabregas.
Now you look at Mason Mount. I always say that if I'm a striker and I have Mason Mount with me, I would rather tell the coach that
I don't want to play.
he should put him as a top 9 because Mason
Wants to
Mount's
score.
eye for goal is actually embarrassing
Yeah.
to an attacker. You know, your role is to play.
That's a contradiction.
Your role
He's
to a striker.
But Lampard was like that though.
No, Lampard
was different. Lampard was making
not,
assists.
Lampard was not that bad, bro.
It was bad.
Lampard was making assists.
Can you bring me Mason Mount's assist stats as a
Lampard
midfielder?
was making assists.
That's why.
I could say that for a fact. I
if you
watched
have-
Chelsea.
when you say eye for goal, Lampard had eye for goal.
We're not saying Lampard didn't have eye for
Okay.
goal. But
Maybe you should
Lampard
rephrase.
was making assists.
Okay.
Insane assists.
Lampard is top 3 assists.
Because I could tell you for sure
time.
that during that Chelsea's era,
Yeah.
I watched Lampard. a lot. He was one of my favorite
No,
midfielders.
it's not. You don't
Apart from, like,
need
the
to.
guy was
You
making
don't
assists.
need to swear on your ring.
So
You
like
just need to check
like
the
you
stats.
said,
Lampard
I
is
think
top 5.
I think
the guy was making.
assist makers
I
in
mean,
Premier League all
Drogba
time.
enjoyed
who
him.
they need to bring
no
now
doubt.
is a creative midfielder.
Yeah.
Someone who can practically pass the ball to whatever place he wants to get it to. You know, but Mason Mount, I don't sure Mason Mount can even do a diagonal pass. I'm not sure Mason Mount can make a defense splitting pass. I'm not sure Mason Mount can do anything for a striker. So if you bring in Gordon's doesn't score goals, doesn't make assists,
Nah.
just gives you
Just runs at the defense.
the pace.
So what happens with Sterling
So-
if they bring Gordon?
I don't even know.
I think it can't be
I don't
true.
know how they
That
play
Gordon,
Sterling.
that
Maybe
Gordon,
they'll
it can't
play
be
Sterling
true. I
as a
don't think
false
it's
nine.
true. I honestly don't think it's true because if it's true, then
So for me, it still boils down. I still say that it still boils down to the manager. That's why I'm taking it to again.
Let me say one more thing. I think Tuchel has reverted back is tautology, right? Reverted to what he did when he joined Chelsea, which is that when he scores one goal, he just
sits
sits
back.
back, which is good, but he needs to get a goal scorer. Last season, especially the game against Madrid, everybody crucified him because when they were 3 goals up, he was still going out
But
seeking for
the problem is not-
fourth
I
goal.
don't
tell
know.
you-
I
I think
can't see the
I'll tell you-
identity. I can't see the identity in the
I'll tell you what I
Chelsea team
think. I'll
currently.
tell you what I think.
There's no identity.
Tuchel is all about. When you come into a football team halfway, right, and win the Champions League, in May,
Yeah.
you automatically gain hero status. But let's not forget, we're talking about Chelsea here, and if we narrow it down to Chelsea alone, that's not the first manager who has come in mid-season at
Half-season
Chelsea
and win.
and won. Matter of fact, the next guy only lost because of his sleep.
Exactly.
Right? Avram Grant, anybody. Right? So, Chelsea fans have to realize that what Tuchel did with Chelsea was great, but not extraordinary. Right? So, you come back to Tuchel as a football manager. Before Tuchel joined Chelsea, I personally thought, you know what? This guy, he's one of those
Wanna be.
not a wannabe, because in the end, he's
No, he's
done a
one
few things.
soft, so you can't-
He's a good manager, but he's one of those poets, or Einsteins. What I've seen him do is constantly imagine the game
He's idealistic of it.
void of some sensibilities that a basic manager needs, management needs. So you're not scoring enough goals in the team, and you have a striker. What do? You find a way to make the striker score goals. Instead, you play an attacking player and say, oh, because that player, runs around and gives you that. But in the end, you should know that in the end, football, the hardest thing to do is to score a goal. So you go ahead and do the same thing Ole Gunnar Solskjaer did. You sell Lukaku and make it look like, Lukaku, rock the boat and all that kind of stuff. It's all a power tussle. You're trying to regain authority. But I think that what Tuchel is going to do at Chelsea, and if he's led to do it, is give Chelsea purple patches of great results. They'll take 5 steps forward, they'll take 3 steps backwards.
Even 10.
They'll take 5 steps forward, they'll take 2 steps backward. So what it means is that they'll never be a terrible team, because what he can do, and I give it to him, is he's a very passionate guy. And passionate people know how to motivate themselves, and they can be
in their pump.
What's the word I'm looking for? They can be contagious. Their energy is contagious. They can rile the team up. Like, let's go for a big game. So they can play Liverpool and raise the roof and give Liverpool a really good game. But over 38 games, over 100 games, you would find that there are too many odd losses. 4-0 here, 3-1 here, where they've lost games because of their idealism. And those managers that always posture as idealistic, in my little experience, I find are the managers who are just comfortable with winning the odd game here. They're not really driven to win titles
FM
by
managers.
any means necessary, right? So that's my take on Tuchel. But I want to talk about this Wesley Fofana guy. So I ask, every time a player wants to move to a club and I hear an obscene amount of money being mentioned, what I like to do is ask what the player brings before the player joins.
Okay.
I think that Chelsea might pay for Fofana, right? But I want to ask what he brings to the team. I was speaking to Rufai, a week or 2 weeks ago about what Fofana brings. I think he's a good defender. Of course, nobody's going to beat, 50. He's a good defender. But what's he special at doing? Because when you watch a guy like, you want to bring in a guy like, let's say, they go and bring Van Dijk. You tell that Van Dijk is, he came in immediately and proved what he could do. But at Southampton, you could see that this guy was. So is that a similar type signing? Is that the expectation?
I think the only character or the only attribute I can put to Fofana is pace. A very fast defender. I've seen his game a couple of times at Leicester, and I can say that, when you are fast, you easily read like a run well. Do you understand? So people count it as a plus, forgetting that what if you have to make some time tackles? What if you have to, they need you to score goals, corner kick goals. They need you to do some sort of proper defending. And it's just quite down to the new owner. I feel the guy wants to impress. I feel he wants to make a statement. And making that kind of statement in going for a £70 million for Fofana, I think it's just not it at all.
When they were at Saint-Etienne, actually, Fofana was the understudy to Saliba, right? And so after Saliba left and joined Arsenal, Fofana was the one that took over. And Fofana is very good. He's like Militao when Militao joined Madrid. I think around the right players, the right experience, he will develop and become a fantastic defender. But for now, I don't understand why Chelsea want to go all out and sign him and then let Chalobah go.
The problem I have with Chelsea is, especially with Tuchel, is, doing the guy moves in circles, right? And I think he doesn't quite have a look back and see what I did there, what mistake did I make there. So I go back to Tomori, who's now at AC Milan, and to be fair, he's loving life there. Yes, I think if Chelsea offered him, £60 million,
he will come back,
right? He's loving it there, and I'm glad to see it as well. So Tomori, of course, wasn't performing at the highest level, but if you're going to buy a guy like Fofana, what you're looking for in a young player is the headroom they can grow into. What are the things that they have that you can work with? Tomori is one of the fastest defenders you find. Quick off the ground. He's not a short guy. He can put himself about, and he had some really good games for Chelsea, and had some terrible games as expected when a manager is almost going to get fired. That means lots of the players are not performing at a good level, right? So there was that. So you let that guy go, and I see a story that you're potentially going to let Trevor Chalobah go as well,
yeah.
right? And I'm thinking, if you let Trevor Chalobah go, who has played in the system, understood the system perfectly. I think he was one of Chelsea's best defenders last year when he played.
Definitely.
And he scored a beautiful goal as well.
Yes.
And he's got that mobility about him. So what do you
He's
need
fast.
to do for him? All you need to do is, you keep playing him, put him into the team simply. But I find that some of the managers prefer to spend buy their own player. Maybe it gives them some of the authority. I'm not quite sure how that works, but it's like a cycle once again. You let Chalobah go, you bring in Fofana. And to be fair, Fofana's not going to start ahead of Koulibaly. I don't think he's going to start ahead of Thiago Silva. Thiago Silva is fit.
Yes.
So, where he's effectively going to play is play on the right of
On the right.
of the back three, which, as we have seen at the moment, he has a fondness of playing Reece James there. So, except he tells me, or except
No,
Tuchel's...
Reece James will go back.
he
back.
switches it.
Hold on. So, like in the last game,
switches it.
Reece James played at center of
He
the
switches
back
it,
three,
yeah.
and the other guy played, and I think it was Loftus-Cheek played. Loftus-Cheek played on the right wing,
Right,
right wing
yes,
back,
yes.
right? So, except he tells me that that's the reason he has done that for quite some time, but experience tells me that is not entirely true, because if you go back to the Carabao Cup final,
Played Aspi
he played Aspilicueta on the right wing back
ahead of
and
James.
played Reece James
Behind
at
him.
centre back.
Yeah.
What it tells me that you want a guy that has pace there.
Yeah.
Right? So, what is wrong with Chalobah? Because Chalobah has pace, he recovers well, and
He
to be
makes
fair,
tackles.
when you play in the back three, what it means is that you can compensate for weaknesses of all three centre backs, which is why a lot of people say, "Oh, Maguire was linked to Chelsea," and it makes sense to them because Maguire thrived in the back three in England,
Yeah,
all the way
yeah,
to the
The
Euro final.
Yeah.
So I find it to be a bit befuddling that is the approach that Chelsea.
I think Chelsea, particularly for their academy products, they don't appreciate them till they go out, make a name for themselves, and then they come back.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate, but that's how it is for them. Maybe when Chalobah goes now, after one season, you hear Chelsea make 70
I still
million
feel
bid for
that
him.
I don't see what Fofana is like going to bring to a Chelsea team. Like I can't see it yet. I can't see it yet because why do I say so? He's young, quite all right. He still plays probably the same way this other player they have in the team is like Chalobah and co that they have. And I'm not seeing any difference. Like, what are you bringing that is ahead of that kid that is already in the team?
Like when
Like what
Juventus bought
like-
the Leeds.
Do you understand? Like, if I buy you...
no, when you went to the league,
What
it was the right move. To be fair,
Yeah, that was
Yeah,
what I'm
that's
saying.
what
It
I
was-
said.
that's what I said. It
That's
was
what
on
I
his
said.
level.
That was
It
Yeah,
was on
like
his-
he was on his. So I'm not seeing Fofana at that level. Like, what are you? Are you the best guy? Even at Leicester City, prior to maybe John Evans having injuries, Soyuncu and Co.
Soyuncu was actually ahead of him.
You get all those guys were ahead of him.
Yeah.
They were starters.
Yeah.
So I'm not seeing that. How you convincing me that if I sign you, you come to a Chelsea, obviously a bigger team, a bigger ask, a bigger task. You are required to be at this level every week. At least at Leicester, if you give a 7, they could clap for you. Say, hey, you do well. But at Chelsea, you can't give a 7 and they will clap for you. You have to give a 9 or a 8 plus or a 10.
That's a brilliant point.
You get
Because-
so I can't see it with this kid. Like, what are you bringing? How are you going to come into that team and change it? Van Dijk is a one of one. Or how they put it? You know how Beyonce said, "I'm one of one." Yeah, Van Dijk is a one of one. All those kind of players who spot like a gem from a smaller side and they come to a big team and hit it.
and they kill it immediately.
Yeah, and they kill it. But not all players are like that. That you sign from a smaller side and they come to a big. The whale is going to swallow them.
I mean, it's a valid point you make, but it's only 3 games, and I hate to rule over anybody on 3 games. But it was the same question I asked, with Cucurella. And I think Cucurella is a good player, industrious, gets around the place well, goes up and down. But the question I always have is when you're signing a player for a lot of money,
to back up.
right, to be a backup player. In this case, backup is my opinion, not Tuchel's opinion, because Tuchel can say, "Oh, I'm not buying as a backup." But the best left back in England is either Andy Robertson or
Ben
Ben Chilwell.
Yeah.
You will not find a better left back than Andy Robertson or Chilwell. Matter of fact, as far as going forward goes,
Chilwell
Right.
better than Robertson.
He has
Chilwell
more
is better than Robertson
productivity.
with scoring goals.
Goals, yeah.
Actually,
Right.
No,
just
but Robertson
to
whips
say
in a better
No,
cross
that's-
than
that's-
Chilwell.
that's
Just-
what I'm saying. With
just to
scoring
say
goals
this.
himself.
in
Okay, scoring
hindsight,
goals himself, yes.
in hindsight,
But
right?
whipping in crosses.
If you check when Klopp came to Liverpool, he actually wanted to sign Chilwell, not Robertson, but Leicester refused to sell him. You can go ahead.
So, so that is that.
No, but he started Cucurella in like two games now. Huh? The last game he started.
I'm not sure if that's
He's a
down
starter.
to. I'm not sure if that's down
I
to.
think
No,
he'll be a
I think
starter.
Chilwell's fitness. I'm not sure if that's down to fitness, but early indications is when the manager spends the money on a player, you don't want to have people asking questions over your head unnecessarily. So you want to try and play them as much as possible. You know,
Cucurella doesn't move comfortably when he's attacking. I don't know. I don't know how he's
Cucurella is
moved.
not as good on the ball as Chilwell.
Yeah.
He's not technically as good as Chilwell. He can't defend as well as Chilwell to me as well. Right? I feel like
He has
there
the
is this thing
energy.
that top clubs do where Man City want to sign a player because Man City have shown through trophies and by recruitment track record that some of the players they sign go on to be they fit like a glove. I mean I could be wrong, but I feel like Chelsea had that notch. Be like, we have the money, we can chase Man City for it. Same thing with quote unquote. I think Alex Sanchez was a huge disappointment, right? But I imagine that it was also one of the driving factors with Man United at the time as well.
True.
Right? Oh, Man City want to sign Alex Sanchez. Why do they want to sign him? We have the money, so let's go for him
let's
as
go
well.
for
him. Yeah.
Right? I think the same thing happened with
Even
Chelsea.
Fred as well. Fred. And Jorginho.
So that's what I sense there. But
So we've mentioned 3 players that might not be starters that they are chasing now. Anthony Gordon,
Wesley
Fofana, and now this Cucurella they signed as well. So why is he spending over 70 million on each of these players?
all I see,
I think the
all
owner
I
wants
see
to
is
make it.
a
He
manager.
wants to make it.
said,
I think
it's down to the owner.
If you
Yeah,
want
but
to
you
make
need
a
to
statement, make
channel
the right
the
statement.
money
It's
to
not
the
the.
right
I think
players.
it's down to the
See,
owner, not the
let's
manager.
go back to what UB said when we had the podcast where UB was talking about Chelsea and the statement that Tuchel made about the season, saying that they are going to be, what's it called? They are going to be like, they should not expect the same Chelsea or something. Like, they're not going to be at their, like, they're not chasing after the title. Or how did you put that statement?
Me?
Yeah. It was you.
I never thought that kind of before.
No, you did. You said Tuchel mentioned.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
That he said that
Lowering the levels of Chelsea.
Lowering the level, exactly. That they shouldn't expect that they'll be winning the title.
Yeah.
So that you said Chelsea might actually have a problem. That you were warning Chelsea fans not to be expectant of the Chelsea that they know.
Yeah, we
in
get
the
it, we get
past.
it, we get it.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is this is already playing out. Even if it's just 3 games in, it's playing out as to how they might probably go about their season.
Right.
Maybe they don't want to. He's saying we don't have what it takes to win the title, or we're not looking at winning the title.
I think what's happening at the moment
Because if you're looking at winning the title, you should be signing the best things for your for
Chelsea
your
are not going to win
team.
the title. Let's not.
I'm just saying.
Let's not. No, don't say
Just
it.
if you are looking
I
at
could
that,
be proved horribly wrong, right? More
I
ludicrous
trust
things.
Wally would bring all
More,
these
more,
videos out.
more ludicrous things are happening in football.
no, but I mean during if it was Abramovich's reign,
They'll sack him, maybe.
exactly,
So the point I was
the
going to
result would have been something else.
Simply, calm down. Mike One has the rule on this thing. Mike One. I be like I will bring one small taser come.
Mike was everything.
Right. But just to wrap that up on Chelsea, you were speaking about the owner. You know that it's what the owner wants. So I wanted IBK to actually say something. You were going to say something about the owner being the driving force behind the moves.
I think Tuchel now is in a situation where he doesn't have any say, to be honest. Because
But that's why that's
if I was to be the one that is succeeding Abramovich, I would want to do something to keep that level high. So now, when I heard the statement of the owner when he bought the club and all that I was going to continue at that level, I feel that he wants to make a statement. And the sad thing is that the people who were there before, I think he let some of them leave.
Marina.
Basically, I feel he's doing it in his own. I might be wrong, but I feel he's doing it in his own, from his own fantasy world. That let me get this guy. Who are we talking about? Let me get this guy. I don't think Tuchel, in his right senses, would want to bring in Cucurella when you have Chilwell.
I tell you what, right?
Yeah.
You make what sounds and is understandable as a logical analysis, right? New owner comes in,
Statement signing.
off the back of the most successful
Yeah.
owner in football, at least for the last
10 years.
What 10? What?
10 or
10
15
years.
30 years,
19.
right? If you
19
talk about
years.
the Premier League era, which is what's been celebrated around the world the last couple of weeks,
19
you
years.
cannot put anybody above Roman Abramovich. I think the only football owner that comes and is not an owner
Perez.
is Florentino. You know,
Yeah.
Florentino is the guy who has administered Real Madrid in a way that has brought the kind of success that I don't think anybody, you know, both in both
Both
tenors,
clubs,
right?
yeah.
In both tenors.
Two
The
eras,
Glazers too did with United. at
I
that
mean,
beginning part.
so
Yeah.
that what is clear now is that was a Ferguson thing, as opposed to being a Glazer thing. No,
Yeah,
that, of
Ferguson
course.
and David Gill.
No, it was a Ferguson. That was him, and I hate to do United. Let's not do United, but that was the last. That was a dying breed of a manager, because now you don't have any manager who has that amount of power that combines everybody's role into one. But Ferguson was manager at United when
he was practically doing everything.
He was director of football. He was everything.
He was signing
At
players
least 10
himself.
years before Ferguson retired, other clubs had broken down the rules
Rules for
to
different-
accommodate other experts in those fields.
Yeah.
United never had any of those things. The club ran like, you know, he was running like, if Ferguson is alive, his heart is beating, we are good.
Yeah.
Do you get? All you need to do is pick up a phone, call an agent. Like, there were no intermediaries.
He was a
like,
scout.
He was
Yeah,
Ferguson.
no, remember the story about Mikel
No,
now.
they
Mikel
tell you.
said Fergie came
To
to
see-
Norway
No,
to
no,
Oslo.
Fergie always went.
Yeah,
You know,
when he went to
Even
Oslo.
Cristiano, it was Fergie
Fergie
that
went there.
Yeah,
like, you know,
yeah.
like, give
Fergie
us
said,
this
"Won't
kid.
leave until I sign him."
Yeah.
Yeah. So that
After
was
after the
Fergie.
game. Yeah.
Yeah,
You
after
know,
the game.
So there is so that's that with that. But the thing I was gonna say with Tuchel is, when a new owner comes, more so when he's an American guy who doesn't have an European football background, what you're saying makes sense. But ultimately, the manager
direct him.
is what he leans on.
Yeah.
What I sense is happening is that Boli and the guys he's hired there want to make sure the manager feels as comfortable as he is with them as he was with the other guy,
The other owner.
right?
Yeah.
So Tuchel says, you know what? I want this guy. Like, you want this guy, we give it to you. I don't think that Boli
He's
goes
the
and
one
says to
picking those
anybody
guys.
and says, Tuchel, this is the player we want. Roman did that a couple of times with Chelsea managers.
That's in the past.
But even Roman learns
His lessons.
his lessons. And in this era where managers are so powerful and can be a bit cantankerous, I don't think any manager at the moment allows an owner to impose a player on him
them.
when he knows that a few months down the line, a few weeks down the line, when the results go bad, I am the one whose head,
Khalifi did that with
you know,
Pochettino though.
who's
Who?
Khalifi did it with Pochettino.
Who's
No, that's-
Khalifi? Or
that's-
that's
No,
that's
PSG
are not run.
Those ones.
PSG CEO is a footballer. What are you talking about?
Khalifi
Those
does
ones,
it
you know,
with
like,
Those
Pochettino.
ones are.
The CEO is Mbappe, so anything can happen. anything happens.
That's it. That's it. No, that's
no,
not
no,
the
no,
end.
no,
Guy,
no,
so you actually
What's
think that
no?
thing is not
No,
true.
I'm not. I'm saying that prior to the
Daniel
deal.
Levi too is doing the same thing at Tottenham sometimes.
You know,
Did
no,
that.
no. Levi is actually
Levy.
Levy.
Levy. Is it
Right.
Levy?
Levi is the one in the
But
Bible.
Conte
LVI
don't hold
is-
down.
Don't let thunder strike this table. You
No,
can't.
it's
Levi is the spelling for the.
But I
for
think
the- for
Levi
Jacob's
is
son.
L-V-I actually.
Well, L-E-V-I now.
No, it's
no,
L-E-V-Y.
not V-Y.
Then-
V-Y is funky nice. It's L-E-V-I.
This
Is
is
that,
Check
is,
the
that, is that
Bible.
the spelling
No,
of
no,
the
Daniel Levy.
Daniel
Is
Levy.
actually
What's
VY.
Levy spelled? This is
L-E-V-Y
The
now.
one in the
VY.
Bible is VI. That's Jacob's son.
No,
Daniel-
but the
Daniel
guy,
Levy.
no, but the guy at Tottenham, the owner of Tottenham, is it Y or I?
It's
It's
Y
Y
now.
now.
Daniel Levy.
Oh,
Why?
okay.
Right.
If you say
I
Y,
mean, we hate
then-
to correct you, to be honest.
but
we just
it's I.
Yeah.
I
It might
thought
just-
it was an
I
I.
think what I do, I'm if I'm listening to it back, I'm thinking a lot of people are listening and be like, "Who the heck is that guy?" Right? And not like they care, but we just wanted to make sure that.
You've been a household name for
know.
this podcast.
So there is that, right?
Always a pleasure to have you on the Hindsight Podcast. Subscribe, like, comment. We'd just like to have your thoughts shared on the Hindsight Podcast. It's great fun for us recording this one, and we also love to hear from you as well. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you for your messages, your comments. See you again in the next episode.
Cloud. Reach out.